Homework 13, more word problems. Solving a value mixture problem. So a value mixture problem is like the ones where you have costs involved, and that if I have 3 pounds that cost me $2 a pound, the value of my purchase is $6. Raina's Coffee Shop makes a blend that is a mixture of 2 types of coffee. Type A coffee costs Raina $5.75 per pound. Type B costs $4.10 per pound. This much Raina made 130 pounds of the blend for a total cost of $661.70. How many pounds of type B coffee did she use? So we're going to have 2 equations because we have 2 variables. Anytime you have 2 different unknowns, you've got to have 2 equations. One of them has to do with the costs. $5.75 per pound for type A. So if I take $5.75 times how many pounds of A, I get the cost there. Plus $4.10 per pound for type B. So if I take $4.10 times the number of pounds for B, I get the value of B. We know that the total cost, or the total value, is $661.70. Now my other equation has to do with the number of pounds that we had. A is the number of pounds we had of A, B is the number of pounds of B. She made a total of 130 pounds of our blend. So our equation is that if I take A plus B, I'm going to end up with 130. Now there are 2 ways to solve this equation. You can either solve it by substitution or you can solve it by the elimination method. I like to use the elimination. I want to solve this for B, so I want to eliminate the A. In order to eliminate the A, I'm going to multiply by the opposite of what's in front of the A so that when I add my 2 equations together, I can cancel them out. So I'm going to multiply everything in this second equation by negative 5.75. So I'm going to have negative 5.75 times A. I'm going to do negative 5.75 times B. And I also have to take the negative 5.75 times that 130. So 130 times negative 5.75 gives me negative 747.5. I'm going to add the 0 since I'm doing money. So what happens now is I'm going to add the top equation and the bottom equation together. 5.75 minus 5.75, those are opposites. It cancels the A's out of my equation. Here, $4.10 minus 5.75 gives me negative 1.65B. On the other side, 661.70 minus 747.50. 661.70 minus 747.50. Negative 85.8. I have to solve this for B, so I'm going to divide, and again I have a negative divided by a negative, so I'm going to end up with a positive. So negative 85.8 divided by negative 1.65 gives me B is 52 pounds. Number 2, at the City Museum, child admission is $5.50 and adult admission is $9.40. On Friday, 4 times as many adult tickets as child tickets were sold, for total sales of $1,077.50. How many child tickets were sold that day? So again, we've got 2 variables. We have to do 2 equations. One will have to do with my costs. $5.50 for every child ticket and $9.40 for every adult ticket, and we brought in $1,077.50. My other equation is from the second sentence. The second sentence says, on Friday, 4 times as many adult tickets as child tickets were sold. So, again, when you're thinking about translating these, whatever thing is mentioned first, that's the variable that is set equal to something else. There were 4 times as many adult tickets. That means I'm going to say that the adult tickets is equal to something else. 4 times as many as the child tickets. So 4 times the child tickets, 4 C's. So this is like the one we did on the previous page where we did the substitution. We know that the A can be replaced with 4 C's. So I'm going to get rid of the A here. I'm going to put 4 C's in its spot, and then I'm going to have to multiply that out. So here, I still have 5.50 C plus, here I have to multiply 940 times 4C. So 940 times 4 gives me 37.6 C then, equals my 177.50. So now I have an equation that just has C's, but again I've got to combine those two together. This is the children's, this is representing the adults in terms of the children's. So 37.6 plus my 550 gives me 43.1. C equals my 1,077.50. Now I can go ahead and divide to solve my equation. So if I divide by 43.1, I get 25. C equals 25. I sold 25 child tickets for the museum. So here we combine those two things to get that, and then we divide it. Number 3 is kind of like number 1, but I'm going to solve it a different way for those who like other options. It says a web music store offers 2 versions of a popular song. The size of the standard version is 2.4 megabytes. The size of the high quality version is 4.9 megabytes. Yesterday there were 1,140 downloads of the song for a total download size of 4,411 megabytes. How many downloads of the standard version were there? So in this case, first of all, going with the megabytes, 2.4 for the standard version plus 4.9 for the high quality version gave me a total of 4,411 megabytes. My second equation has to do with the total number of songs downloaded. If I take the number of standard ones plus the number of high quality ones, I get 1,140 total downloads. So very similar to what we did on the very first problem. We said on the first one that we solved by the elimination method. If I would want to solve for the standard version, I would want to eliminate the high quality version, and I could multiply by -4.9. But in this case, I'm going to solve it a different way. I'm going to solve it by substitution for those who like to do substitution. If I want to solve this for the standard version, I want the second equation solved for the high quality one so that I can substitute it in and replace that. So, whichever one you're solving for, you have to rearrange this equation for the opposite one. So I'm going to move the S to the other side, and so H is equal to 1140 minus S. I now can take that, put it in for the H up on my top equation. So 2.4S plus 4.9 times 1140 minus S is going to equal to my 4411. I kind of smashed that in there. Should have written that other stuff over farther. Solving this, I'm going to use my distributive property. So 2.4S, and then here I'm going to multiply that out. So 4.9 times 1140 equals 5586 minus the 4.9 times the S. So 4.9S equals my 4411. So combining my like terms, I'm going to combine the S's. 2.4 minus 4.9 is negative 2.5S plus 5586 equals 4411. I then have to get the S by itself, so I'm going to subtract my 5586. So negative 2.5S equals 4411 minus 5586 equals negative 1175. Again, we got two negatives. A negative divided by a negative is going to give us a positive answer. So we're going to go ahead and divide by that negative 2.5. Divide that by negative 2.5. We get 470. S is equal to 470. So of the 1,140, 470 is the standard version. Again, I personally like the way we did problem number 1, doing the addition method, but everybody's different. Some of you might prefer to do substitution. It works perfectly fine. It's mathematically correct. So either way is a correct way of solving that problem, either by addition or by substitution. You have to decide which way you like better. Distance, rate, and time problems here. These are the ones where you have trains and cars and boats and whatever else you might be doing. I kind of like to draw pictures as I go because it helps me to see in my head what's going on. Two trains leave the station at the same time. One headed west and one headed east. The westbound train travels at 100 miles per hour. The eastbound train travels 90 miles per hour. How long will it take the two trains to be 494 miles apart? Well, we know that if we take the rate times the time for each of these, we get the distance. So the rate of the westbound train was 100. The rate of the eastbound train is 90. We are looking for how long, so we're trying to find the time. So the distance here is 100 times the time. The distance here is 90 times the time. If we add them together, our total distance is 494 miles apart. So 100 plus 90 would be 190, combining those two things. And in order to solve that, of course, all we have to do is divide. 494 divided by 190 gives me gives me 2.6. So my time is 2.6 hours. Tells me not to round it off. So 2.6 hours is how long it would take them to be 494 miles apart. Number 5, Deborah drove to the mountains last week. There was heavy traffic on the way there, and the trip took 6 hours. When Deborah drove home, there was no traffic, and the trip only took 4 hours. If her average rate was 22 miles an hour faster on the trip home, how far away does Deborah live from the mountains? So she went to the mountains, then she came home from the mountains. Those two distances should be the same. Again, we want to think about the rate times the time for those two distances. So, there was heavy traffic on the way there. The trip took 6 hours. So my time here is going to be 6 hours. When Deborah drove home, there was no traffic. It only took her 4 hours. So the time on the way home, 4 hours. Her average rate was 22 miles an hour faster on the trip home. We don't know what the rate was on the way there was. We're just going to leave it as R. But we do know on the way home she went 22 miles an hour faster than what she did here. So R plus 22 would be her rate on the way home. We know that those two things should be the same because if I went someplace and came back, should be the same distance. So r times 6 would be 6r. That's going to equal 4 times our r plus 22. So it looks nice, right? If I take 4 times r plus 22, I can write it as 4 times r plus 22. So now I have an equation I can solve. 6r plus 4r plus 88, using my distributive property. 6r equals, I better write the right thing there, 6r equals 4r plus 88. Solving that for r, I need to move my r to the other side. I'm going to minus that 4r. So 2r is going to equal 88. Then, of course, I'm going to divide by 2. R equals 44. Now, we don't want to know the rate. The question doesn't say how fast was she driving. The question says, how far away does she live? So we need to find the distance. We can substitute that 44 either going to the mountains or coming home from the mountains. We should get the same distance. To me, the top one looks easier to do. 44 miles an hour times 6 hours. 44 times 6 gives me a distance of 264 miles. I could have done it in here and with 44 here. 44 plus 22 would have been 66 miles an hour for only 4 hours. If I take 66 times 4, I get the exact same answer, 264 miles. I should, it's the same distance. So when you look at it and you get your answer, you got the rate, but you have to answer the question they want, which is how far away, what is my total distance? Rate times time in either one of these should give me the same answer. Number 6, 2 trains leave the station at the same time, one headed east, the other headed west. The eastbound train travels 16 miles an hour faster than the westbound train. 2 trains are 510 miles apart after 3 hours. What is the rate of the eastbound train? So again, I'm going in 2 opposite directions. The eastbound train is going 16 miles an hour faster than the westbound train. It's kind of like the previous problem. We don't know the rate of the one going west, but we do know the one going east is going 16 miles an hour faster. So my rate for my westbound train is going to be R. The rate for my eastbound train is going to be R plus 16. Rate times time. They both went for 3 hours. So I'm going to times them both by 3 hours. We know the total distance was 510 miles. So R times 3 would be a distance of 3R. Here we want to take 3 times R plus 16. I know the total distance, 510 miles apart. Now I have an equation I can solve. So 3R plus 3R plus 3 times 16, 48, equals my 510. Combining my like terms, 3R plus 3R is 6R plus 48 equals my 510. Solving that for R, I've got to move my 48 to the other side, so I'm going to minus that 48. 6R is going to equal 510 minus 48, which is 462. And then, of course, to find R, I've got to divide by 6. R is equal to 77. Now, the question wants to know what is the rate of the eastbound train. What did we find? We found R, and R was the rate of the one headed to the west, right? This is the west and this is the east. So 77 is not the answer to the question. The westbound train was going 77 miles an hour. The eastbound train was going 16 miles an hour faster than that. So we have to take the 77 plus the 16 to find the rate of the eastbound train. 77 plus 16 gives me 93. So 93 miles an hour is how fast that eastbound train is going. So you have to be really careful on these ones that you're actually answering the question that they're asking. Just because you get down to an answer at the bottom doesn't mean you're done. Area, perimeter of a rectangle, we of course have formulas for that we need to know. Area formula is length times width. Perimeter formula, 2 lengths plus 2 widths. So in these ones we're going to be working with rectangles. I like to draw pictures, so I'm going to draw a rectangle to start with. It says the length of my rectangle is 4 yards longer than its width. We don't know what the width is. We're going to call the width W. So I'm just going to label my rectangle's width with a W. The length of my rectangle, L, is 4 yards longer than its width. If I'm going to do 4 yards longer than something, it means I'm adding 4 to the width. So I'm going to have W plus 4. I'm going to go ahead and label my rectangle as W plus 4. So here I have my rectangle. It says the perimeter of my rectangle is 40. Well, I know the formula for perimeter. Perimeter is 2 lengths plus 2 widths because I'm adding up all the sides. My perimeter is 40. I'm going to replace the length with W plus 4. So I'm going to take 2 times W plus 4 plus my 2W. Getting rid of my parentheses. 40 is equal to 2W plus 8 plus 2W then. Combining my like terms, 40 equals 4W plus 8. Now before I go any farther, to see how that makes sense with what we have here, perimeter is adding up all the sides. This side would also be W, this side would be W plus 4. If I add all the sides, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 W's, and then 4 plus 4 is 8. 4W plus 8 is my perimeter. We know that it equals 40. Solving that, we're going to minus the 8. 40 minus 8 would be 32 equals 4W. And then, of course, we have to divide by 4. So W equals 8. I know the width of my rectangle is 8. I'm just going to go over here and label that width as 8. I want to find the area. In order to find area, area is length times width. So not only do I need to know what the width is, I need to know what the length is. So what I'm going to do is fill the 8 in here because I know the length is 4 yards longer than the width. So 4 yards longer than 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. My length is going to be 12. Once I know both the length and the width, now I can find the area. The area is going to be 12 times 8, the length times the width. 12 times 8 is 96. It's an area, so we're in square units, so 96 yards squared. Number 8, same kind of thing. Starts out with the length of the rectangle is 5 times the width. The length is 5 times the width, so 5W. So if I have my rectangle, the width is just the plain W, the length is 5W. Again, it talks about the perimeter being 84. Perimeter, 2 lengths plus 2 widths. So 84 is equal to 2 times the length, which we changed to 5W, plus 2W. So 84 is going to equal, 2 times 5W is 10W. 10W, excuse me. 10W plus 2W is 12W. Again, thinking about our rectangle, if I'm doing the perimeter, this side is W, this side is 5W. If I add all my sides, 5, 10, 11, 12, I get 12W for my perimeter. Yes, I do. Solving that for W, I just divide by my 12. 84 divided by 12 gives me 7. So my width equals 7. So same type of thing, I want to find the area. We know that area is length times width. We do know the width is 7. We need to find what the number for the length is. We know that the length is 5 times the width. So 5 times 7, going to give me 35, right? Now I can find the area. I know my length is 35. I know my width is 7. So 35 times 7 is 245. And it's in inches, and it's an area, so inches squared. So on these two that start out with perimeter, sometimes you're going to have adding because it's longer, and sometimes you'll have multiplying because it's times, and so watch and pay attention for which one you're doing there. Number 9 is just a little bit different, still using these same formulas, but this one's going to start with area first instead of perimeter first. Going to start the same way. The length of my rectangle is 3 times my width. So my length is equal to 3W. If I draw my rectangle, my width is W, my length is 3W. The area is 108 meters squared. Formula for area is length times width. So 108, don't worry about the label since it's area, it's square units, but that doesn't have anything to do with the 108. So 108 is equal to the length, which we said was 3W, times the width, which is a plain W. So we have to think about what happens when you do a W times another W. W times W is W squared. So 108 is equal to 3W squared. 3W times 1W is 3W squared. I want to solve that, so I'm going to start by getting rid of my coefficient. I'm going to divide by 3. 108 divided by 3 is 36. So 36 is equal to W squared. Most of you probably can think of what number squared is 36, but technically what you're doing to get rid of the squaring is doing the opposite of squaring. The opposite of squaring is taking the square root of something. So we're going to say that the square root of 36 is what's equal to W. And the square root of 36 is 6, right? 6 times 6 is 36. We want to find the perimeter of this rectangle. We know that to find the perimeter, we need 2 lengths and 2 widths. We know the width is 6. We have to find the length yet, just like we did on the previous questions. Once we found the width, we go back and find the length. The length is 3 times the width, so 3 times 6 is going to give me 18. So I can do the formula for perimeter. The perimeter is 2 times the length of 18 plus 2 times the width of 6. 2 times 18 gives me 36. 2 times 6 is 12. 36 plus 12 is 48. And I am in plain meters since I'm doing perimeter. I have my regular units. And again, if I thought about this side would be 18, this side would be 18, this would be 6, and this would be 6. And if I add 18 plus 18 plus 6 plus 6, I end up with 48 for my perimeter. So that's the third way you're going to see those problems where they start with the area and then you go and find the perimeter once you found the length and the width. (10, 11, and 12 has to do with doing percents. Your formula when you do percents for sales is that you take the percent of the regular price. Of means times, and it's actually the percent that you paid. The percent paid times the regular price is equal to the sale price. So in this one it says a suit is on sale for 33% off. The sale price is $335. This percent is not the percent that you want to use in your problem. It's the discount. You want to find what's the complement of that, which means you're going to take 100% minus 33%. If I take 100 minus 33, 67% is what I paid. I paid 67% of the regular price. So 67% times my regular price is going to be equal to my sale price of $335. So what I end up doing is taking that $335 and dividing it by the 67%. Right? This is multiplying, so when I move it over, I have to divide. So 335 divided by 0.67 is $500. My regular price, or my full price of my item, was $500. After I had a 33% discount, I ended up paying $335. Number 11, same kind of thing. Charmaine bought a table on sale for $639. That was my end price. That's the price I ended up paying. This price is 29% less than the original price. Well, the original price is 100%. If I take 100% and I subtract my 29%, I get 71%. So 71% is the percent that we actually paid. So 71% of the regular price gives me that sale price. So again, to solve this, we're just going to end up dividing by that 71%. 639 divided by 0.71 gives me $900. So my regular or original price was $900. I bought it on sale for $639. Now this one, notice it said 33% off. This one says 29% less. The next one says a sofa on sale for $624 is on sale for $624, which is 64% of the regular price. This time they are giving you the percent that you actually paid. It doesn't say less or discount or lower or anything like that. The 64% is what you did. 64% of the regular price gave me the sale price of $624. I then have to divide by my 64%. And so 624 divided by 64% is $975. So you have to pay attention on these ones. If it says of right after the percent, then you are going to use the percent that's listed. If it says less or off or that it's a discount or something like that, we have to subtract from 100 first and use the complement in order to solve our problem. And the next one here, solving a percent mixture problem. The percent mixture problem's kind of like those value problems that we started out with, but this time we're working with percents. It says 2 factory plants are making TV panels. Yesterday, plant A produced 4 times as many panels as plant B. 4% of the panels from plant A and 2% of the panels from plant B were defective. How many panels did plant B produce if the 2 plants together produced 1,620 defective panels? So, starts off and says plant A produced 4 times as many as plant B. 4 times B. Those would be the number of panels. 4% of the panels from plant A, so 4% of A and 2% of B were defective. How many panels did plant B produce if the 2 plants together produced 1,620 defective panels? So 4% from A were defective, 2% from B were defective. That was the total of the defective panels. So again, this one we can solve by substitution since they said A was equal to 4 B's. We're going to go ahead and replace the A with 4 B's, and then we end up having to multiply that out. So 0.04 times 4 gives me 0.16. 0.16B plus 0.02B equals 1620. Both of those have B's in them. We're going to combine our like terms. 0.16 plus 0.02 would be 0.18B equals my 1620. And then, of course, all we need to do is divide. If I divide by my 18%, 1620 divided by 0.18 gives me 9,000. The question said, how many panels did plant B produce? B is what we found, 9,000 panels. Had it asked me for how many A produced, I would have had to go back up here and take 4 times the 9,000. So again, you have to be careful that you answer the question they ask. Just because you got to the end doesn't necessarily mean that's the one they want. They could be asking for the other thing. So pay attention to that. 14, 2 factory plants are making TV panels again. Yesterday, plant A produced 8,000 fewer than plant B. So, A produced 8,000 fewer than plant B. That's like having the less. I took the number from B and I subtract the 8,000 from it, not 8,000 minus B. So A is equal to B minus 8,000. 3% of A, so 0.03A, and 2% of B were defective. How many panels from did plant A produce if the 2 plants together produced 510 defective panels? So again on this one we're going to solve by substitution. We're going to replace the A with B minus 8,000. So 0.03 times B minus 8,000 plus 0.02B equals my 510. Here I have to use my distributive property when I multiply that out. So 0.03B minus 3% of 8,000. 0.03 times 8,000. 240. Plus 0.02B equals 510. Combining my like terms, since I have B's, 0.03 plus 0.02 would be 0.05B. Minus 240 equals 510. Want to solve it for B's, so I'm going to move my 210 to the other side. I've got to add my 240 to the other side. So 0.05B equals 510 plus 240, 750. And then I've got to divide by my 5%. B is going to be equal to 750 divided by 0.05, 15,000. So we found B, however, the question wants to know how many panels plant A produced. So, just because we found 15,000, that doesn't mean that's the answer. B was 15,000. A was 8,000 fewer than that. So I have to take 15,000 minus 8,000. So A produced 7,000 panels. And that's going to be the answer to the question. One last one on this page. Kira invested her savings in 2 investment funds. The $5,000 she invested in Fund A returned a 3% profit. The amount that she invested in Fund B returned a 10% profit. How much did she invest in B if both funds together returned a 5% profit? So, we had 3% on A and 10% on B, and we got a profit of 5% on both of them together. Both of them together would be A plus B. So 3% of A plus 10% of B gave us a profit of 5% on both of them together. We, however, know that there was $5,000 in Fund A. So A is equal to 5,000. We can replace our A's with 5,000. So 3% of 5,000 plus 10% of B is going to equal 5% of 5,000 plus B. Both of them together. Now we need to solve that equation. So 3% of 5,000 is 150. So 150 plus 10% of B equals 5% of 5,000 should be 250 plus 0.05B using our distributive property over here. Now we want to go ahead and solve that for B. So solving that for B, we're going to move this over here, so we're going to subtract our 5%. We're going to move that over there, so subtract our 150. 10% minus 5% is 5% of B. 250 minus 150 is 100. Dividing 100 by 5%. 100 divided by 0.05 gives me $2,000 for how much she invested in Fund B. So a little bit different than the previous two, but think about those percentages and how you would write them with the variables you have, then substitute in what you need to substitute in, and solve. And that is the end of that homework page.